Hi, my name is Talon, the host. Would you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, who do we have the pleasure of speaking with today?
My name is Ryan Harris, founder and CEO of nonprofit organization As I Plant This Seed.
A lot.
Yes.
What moment in your life made you realize God was calling you to build something bigger than yourself?
Oh, you went straight there. Okay. I would say this. I kinda already knew since I was a kid that I was different, but I would say that the true calling on my life wasn't until, or I would say the true calling wasn't realized until God woke me out of my sleep in 2018 and he told me to stand out on Broad and Hunting Park and pray and fast until I raised $30,000 to get this building that we sitting in right now. So I was able to raise $30,000, praying and fasting on Broad and Hunting Park, collecting money from anybody that would, listen to my story about what I want to do in the community, and that's create a safe space for youth to push them to their full potential, give them a place where they can be themselves and get some skills, and be productive citizens at one point in life. So that's what that dream. Out of that dream came the treehouse that we sitting in.
If a kid my age feel like they have a purpose but adults don't take them seriously yet, what should they do?
Say that one more time.
If a kid my age feel like they have a purpose but adults don't take them seriously yet, what should they do?
That's a good question. So I would say this: if they don't have anybody that's an adult in their life that taking them serious, I would say lean on one of their peers that somebody that they can trust, somebody that has integrity, that you know just don't allow them to say or do anything, but somebody that hold them accountable to um, life circumstances, things that they may want to do that is not conducive to being, where they're going and who they want to be, that they hold them accountable to that. So I would say like a peer, somebody that is, around the age that they can trust, that just, have some type of morals and values that they can, lean on and have that conversation with. So if they don't got like a trusted adult, it should be somebody that, you know, is around the age that, leads with integrity.
How do you keep your faith strong when the mission gets hard or people doubt you?
That's easy. Um, God haven't forsaken me in any endeavor that I've, embarked on. Every journey that I took, God been leading the way. And even when it looked like I failed, it's not a failure, it's more of a lesson and a try again. So having faith and understanding how faith works gets a little bit easier when you know, do your part and meet God where He at. And the Bible says, faith without works is dead. So if you do your part, then God always meets you halfway, but you gotta start somewhere.
You talk about protecting human agency. What is something in the world today that you think is trying to take people's freedom away without them realizing it?
Yo, say that again, man. Cause how you all up in my doctrine. You know I wrote my own doctrine, and you asking me questions about my living doctrine that I literally just wrote. I've been working on that for like the last 3 years, and you asked me about human agency. I wrote a whole doctrine about human agency, and it's very important. Ask me that question one more time.
You talk about protecting human agency. What is something in the world today that you think is trying to take people's freedom away without them realizing it?
One of the biggest things that's taking the people freedom away, and it's so subtle that people don't understand, and that is how the internet control people's thoughts. When we talk about algorithms, when we talk about tech and what it does, it literally guides you to a pattern of thinking that opens you up to a world, and it kind of leave you in an abyss into uh, literally going down a a tunnel, and it is not conducive to real world application. If you understand what I'm saying. So when I think about algorithms, you know, it produces a negative outcome because it push you towards more of things that don't matter, and it's really tough to fight those algorithms when you're using the very apps that push them every day. So it's actually a little scary.
How do we teach young people to think themselves instead of just following the crowd?
How do we teach young people
To
to be?
think for themselves instead of following the crowd.
Well, what we do here at the Treehouse, we just be real with the kids, and we give them some skills, and try to teach them things that they probably not be learning in school, to give them options so they won't be stuck and feeling like they don't have opportunities, but teaching them how to create those opportunities, teaching them how to think outside the box so they won't feel like they are locked in. And a lot of that mindset is a poverty mindset, and it comes from an 8 block radius that we live in. If you live in poverty and you see poverty every single day, then you won't think like that. But what we do here is we try to, you know, teach them things that enhance their way of thinking, critical thinking, and try to make sure that they have the tools that they need to overcome their circumstances. So
What is something our generation needs to fix that the older generation might have missed?
I would say we need, I want to say accountability, but I'm gonna use love. I think that our generation got away from what it really means to love on each other. I think that it's been watered down to understand, what love is, and how God operates when it comes to love. And I think that we're not operating out of that same type of love. One of the things that when God defined love, he talk about long suffering, sacrifice. And a lot of people is not willing to suffer for a long time or sacrifice for love. And I think that, we so far from, wanting to sacrifice and long suffering is a selfless act. And I think that we became super selfish in life as adults in our era, and we only been thinking about ourselves. But love is something that it come with a sacrifice, and people not really willing to do that. So I think that we get back to the real raw definition of what love is. I think that we can change a lot in the future.
When you think about your great grandchildren one day, what kind of world do you hope your work help create for them?
Well, if I'm correct, and with the work that I've been doing over the last 14 years, we should create some type of sustainability in a community that lasts outside of my lifetime. I think that if we continue to impart knowledge and give them the skills and the tools that they need to grow, and you know create the expectation of them paying it forward, I think that it becomes contagious, and it's something that people gravitate towards and not even know that they're really doing it. And it's been happening. So the longer and deeper we go into you know creating these atmospheres where we can help people get what they need and supply them with the tools and opportunities that they need, I think that it becomes a trickle down effect, and generations after us change
Was there ever a moment you almost gave up on this mission?
every day.
What made you keep going?
Every single day. It gets hard, but I would say this: the very thing that drained me is the very thing that fueled me. So it might sound like an oxymoron, but the work is fulfilling in itself. So I might have to get up very early. I might have to answer a lot of phone calls. I might have to sacrifice a lot. But those same sacrifices, they turn into, I call them power pellets. because when I sacrifice now, 2 months, 3 years, 10 years from now, that same sacrifice that I laid today might call me and thank me for something I didn't even know that I did for one of the mentees that I raised, or you know somebody that I looked out for would be in a better position, and me not even knowing exactly what I did for them, it'll fuel me. So the very thing that drained me, and that sacrifice, and making that that up and beyond gesture for people, it literally also turn right back around and regenerate me. So
What's the most powerful story you've seen when someone's life changed because of your organization?
we'll be here all day. That's something that is, I get to see daily. I get to watch the kids change. I get to watch them, their mindset shift. I get to watch them make better decisions every single day. Just because the information we're able to give to them, the lessons, the workshops, the knowledge that we impart in them, um, we get to see them in real time. So just having a success story, like I could be here all day if we talking about individual success stories, but I would say overall, all the kids, they come here and they start to adopt some morals and values that help them make better decisions in life. And sometimes they don't catch right on, but over time, it's either going to haunt you or it's going to help you. And if it haunt you long enough, at some point it'll help you because you'll make better decisions because of the information.
If every young person watching this interview could only remember one thing about purpose and faith, what would it be you want it to be?
I would tell you like somebody told me, and I would say this. I was sitting in front of one of my elders that I met, and he passed away, God rest his soul. One of the things that, you know, after a long day, I was sitting with him for about 4 hours, just listening to him teach me about life. And I would ask him at the end of that conversation, what is one thing he want to leave with me, um, that I could take for the rest of my life if I could sum up the whole conversation. And, I take this, very, very dear to my heart because it was definitely something I needed to hear. And a lot of people might think that it's very cliche, but he told me to be myself. And that was probably something that I probably heard before, but coming from somebody that just gave me all his knowledge for 4 hours straight, um, after he said that, after I asked him to leave me with, the most profound thing he could leave me with, and the only thing he said was be yourself, it changed my mindset because if somebody with that kind of knowledge and that type of life experiences that, became successful through all his adversity, and the only thing he could tell me, when I asked that kind of question was to be myself, I had to look at it a little bit different. And I look at it a little bit different because nobody can be you. Everybody is unique to how God created them. And there's nobody can be a better you than you. So um, I charge every kid that's in my program to embrace who they are, love who they are, and, you know, act on the skills and the gifts that God gave them and just be uniquely them.
Sorry for your loss. Was there a moment in your life where you saw something that hurt your heart so much you knew you had to start this organization?
I would say one thing that made me start this organization because I was like a star athlete coming up when I was a kid. And, people used to tell me, oh, you're going to go to the NFL or you're going to do this or whatever. And I watched how I got treated because I was a good athlete. And then I started thinking about kids that's not good athletes and them not being treated the same way. And I watch other kids that's not good athletes get treated or not treated at all or not even be seen because they didn't have the physical ability that I had. And I thought that wasn't fair. I think that every kid is special in their own right and they all got gifts that God gave them. And if somebody just take the time to pour into them and pull those gifts out of them, they can be a superstar. Like they tried to, you know, make me feel like I was a superstar because of my athletic ability. But, what about the kid that don't have athletic ability? How we make them be a superstar? So one of the things that made me, start this program called the Talk to Me Mentorship Program is to pour into the youth that might not be an athletic superstar but have their own gifts, and my job is to pull those gifts out of them so they can feel special as well.
What is something you had to sacrifice in your personal life to build this mission?
Time. Time is, you can't get that back, and I sacrifice time every single day to make sure I pour into the kids adequately enough that it'll be effective for them or help them change the trajectory of their lives. So, you know, people say time is money, and I think that time is more than money. Time is something that you can never get back. Once the second or minute or hour pass, you never can get that back. There's no reimbursement on time. So, yeah, I would say that that sacrifice of time is the biggest thing that I sacrifice. And I'm not just talking about, sacrifice time. I'm talking about intentional time, making sure that I'm doing my due diligence to serve the youth the way they need to be served.
Was there ever a moment when you almost gave up on your organization?
Yeah, all the time, all the time, plenty of times. Um, but like I said, the same work that that drained me, it also fueled me too.
Do you remember the first time you realized someone's life truly changed because of your work?
Brenham just walked in here not too long ago. I could talk about Naja all day. When she first came in the program, she had a stinking attitude. She had turned her face up in a minute. And, it took a minute for her to really understand, you know, how to, because I won't say that she don't have an attitude. I would say that she know how to operate with, who she is, and it works for her. She's able to open doors for herself and other people around her, create opportunities for people, and she learned to, adapt with who she is. And sometimes she might not be feeling everything. She might be, you she might not even care about something, but she learned to, you know, use the skill of being able to adapt in rooms to make the most of every experience. And she didn't used to be so polished like that. She probably would allow her, attitude or her dislike for something to get in the way of opportunities. But I would say today she is so much better, and she's leading the way for the people behind her, the kids behind her, because she's able to adapt with the information and understanding that, trying to, just let her see herself so she can make better decisions. And she's been doing it.
Is your mission connected to something painful that happened in your own life?
Not painful, but definitely experiences that happened in my own life, because I would not even be thinking about being a mentor if I didn't have people that poured into me and really believed in me to push me to my full potential. So I think that I owe it to the next generation to do what was done for me for kids that's behind me. So that's why, that's what kind of like pushed me to that.
What do you hope your children or your future generation learn from your work?
Well, I really hope that at some point that I get to kick my feet up and allow them to do the work and fill a gap of that generation, that generational work that is needed to continue far beyond me, you know, far beyond my life. Um, I really hope that, they contribute to society in a positive way. and really give back to make the world a better place.
What's a struggle behind the scenes that people don't see when they look at your success?
A lot of people probably see what I do and it might look cool. They might think that they could do what I do, and not saying that people can't, but we talked about it earlier. There's a lot of sacrifice that go into this work. A lot of time away from my family, a lot of time put into planning and really building people up. So I would say that that is something that is not to be taken lightly. And a lot of people think they can get in this work and fake it, but it won't have the same results. It won't have the same impact. So, yeah, that's like the main thing I would say.
When things feel impossible, what keeps your faith strong enough to keep going?
Knowing that God could do all things, and I go by this scripture as Philippians 4:13 that say I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me, and that keep me motivated because I know the God that I serve created all things. So if the God that I serve created all things, what can He not do? What can I not do with Him? So it keeps me motivated to know that any struggle, any trial, tribulation that's set in front of me, my God is bigger than that.
What is the most powerful story of someone your organization helped that you will never forget?
I got so many of them, but I would give you a general one. My staff is amazing. They believe in everything that we do here, and they are what I say locked in to making sure that this work, and sometimes they don't get paid on time. Sometimes it takes a long time for them to get paid, but they still believe in the work so much that they stick around, and that's something that you can't really you can't buy loyalty like that. They believe in what's actually happening, and they really love what they do. So that's a blessing.
If you weren't here tomorrow, what would you hope for your work continues to do for people?
Right now, I am in the process of making sure that my work outlive me by setting up all of the systems and successors that I need to continue this work so it won't die with me. That's one of my biggest fears, is that if something happened to me today or tomorrow, will this organization continue to bless families, continue to bless the kids, and keep doing what it do? And that's where I'm at right now, literally in my work after 14 years, trying to figure out how do I make this work outlast me. And that's just really setting up systems and, making sure that everything I do is, can be replicated through other people.
I think that people needed to hear that. Thank you so much for spending the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. That was a beautiful interview, man.
Thank you for tuning in, Visionaries. This is Philly Raw Vision. I'm your host, Tyler. Until next time, stay inspired and keep building. Peace.
Peace. It's your favorite founder, Ryan Harris of nonprofit organization As I Plant the Seed, and you are tuned into Philly Raw Vision Media, man. Y'all better tap in.